All right. Hey, welcome to another episode of Life on the Streets, the greatest show on earth. I am your host, Rick,
I'm Tom.
and we have a very exciting guest today. It's going to be really interesting. I think you're going to love it. I'm very excited. But before we get to that, obviously it's time for our tomfoolery moment. So, Tom, I've been
Hey.
thinking long and hard, and I want to ask you a question that I think you can answer
Okay.
without a lot of effort.
All
Okay,
right.
kind of like schoolwork. So, here we go. If we surveyed 10 officers who worked with you, not people who felt like you could felt like you could get them someplace because you failed on that. So that would be prejudiced. Okay. So officers who just worked with you, don't
Okay.
consider you a friend, a mentor. Well, that would be a small number. We couldn't do 10. But if we did that, okay.
Is there a question in our future?
Yeah, there is. Okay. What would the survey say would be the majority opinion of not your not your skills, your talents, your best quality and your worst quality.
What
No,
the hell kind of question is this, dude? Like,
it's a tomfoolery
it's
question.
not a tomfoolery question.
It's
That
a
is like
tomfoolery question. How is
that's
that
some
not a
kind of
tomfoolery?
interview question. Like if I'm trying to get hired at a job.
Dude,
It's like
see, I tried to make this easy.
that's
This is
not
why you got a GED.
that's
Okay,
not
so
easy.
let's do this anyway.
All right.
One more time. He
Okay,
didn't get
so
it. He didn't get a
worst,
G. He's still trying to get it.
worst, so best and worst
Quality,
quality.
not your skills or talent.
Uh
Quality. You know what that is?
yeah, man.
Okay, I'm going to help you. I'm
Um
going to guide you.
Can you stop talking? Like that would help me a lot.
Okay.
I would say if that best would be uh probably being trustworthy.
Okay.
Guys trusted me.
Okay.
Um
It took you long enough to come up with that, so
worst,
I'm actually thinking that's probably not accurate.
it's totally accurate. Worst, I would say is that I had a tendency to get too involved as especially as a supervisor. Like
So
I
you're a micromanager.
no, not micromanaging. It wasn't a micromanaging issue. It was a lead from the front attitude. Like freaking follow me, we're gonna go get this bad guy kind of thing.
Oh,
Instead of standing back
so they
and
would say your
actually
worst
managing.
quality is that you had no faith in them.
No. The hell kind of stupid shit is that? How do you even go there? No, dude. No, they're just like,
They
hey,
thought this was going to be simple. My bad.
no, it was a dumb question. It was
Really?
literally a stupid question.
Really?
Compared to all the other questions you've asked me, that one was probably like the most ridiculous, like, hey, you're interviewing for a new job, dude, kind of thing. Like,
Did you
seriously.
interview for the job that you just retired from?
Yeah.
Then this wasn't new.
Dude,
Okay.
whatever.
Anyway, well, so we're gonna move
Moving on.
on. We're gonna move on. All right. So today we have Alejandra. Okay. So I'm gonna let Alejandra. Can we call you Alex?
You can call me Alex. That's totally fine. I thought you were gonna say Alex. I was surprised.
Well, but there's formally I would like to do that, but that's usually reserved for friends and family, and I don't even know that you like us, so I didn't want to assume. Okay, so if
Let's stick with Alex. It's
okay,
easier.
all right, let's go with Alex. Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. That's what my grandfather used to say. Tell him who you are.
So my name is Alejandra, but for pronunciation's sake, we'll say Alex. I do go by Alex. I am a psychic and a medium, and I train law enforcement to sharpen their instincts, and I also, when asked, assist on cases to help law enforcement as well.
Awesome. So let me ask you a question. How did you identify this, right? How did you know that this was your abilities and your talents? I mean, this had to have come about some way, right? I mean, because I've woken up every morning and thought, I have it going.
Yeah. Uh, so everything really opened up for me in college. Um, one day I was with my boyfriend at the time. We lived together, and he was in the living room, and I was in the bedroom. And his brother had passed away 6 months prior to us living together. And I saw his brother in my mind's eye very vividly. He just appeared there. And I'm aware of it. I'm not sleeping and I'm just looking at it. So it felt like it was like a movie. It was very clear.
Oh,
And
wow.
his brother was just blinking at me like this, really slow. And the whole time I'm seeing this, I'm like, oh, I can see you. I wasn't scared. Um, and then I sat up from my bed and I heard, ask him about the picture my mom sent, ask him about the picture my mom sent 3 times. And before I went into the living room, I looked at my closet. It was adjacent to the bed. And I saw his brother with my eyes as if I'm seeing you. He was an apparition. I
Okay.
literally went like this. Like, I was like, no, you're there. Um, and I go into the living room. He's sitting on the couch, and I'm like, look, what I'm about to tell you is gonna sound a little crazy, but I would never make this up. Like it's his brother. I would never just.
Right, right, of course.
And they said, look, I just saw your brother. He said to say, ask him about the picture my mom sent. Did your mom send you a picture of your brother in the hospital? The last part kind of just came out of my mouth in the hospital, just flew out. Um, and he looked at me like he literally saw a ghost because seconds before it came out, his mom had texted his brother or texted him a picture of his brother, and he was in the hospital bed. Um, and at that moment, that's when I realized that I could see the dead, I could hear the dead. And I'd say that entire week, it was like 1 month before I was set to graduate college. I mean, it was that week changed my life. I started having very vivid visions. I would see different people's faces. I would hear spirits talking over each other. I would know how they died. I would be sleeping and I would feel like I'm being suffocated. And that's actually how his brother committed suicide. And so there was it was really heavy. I thought that I was going insane. I am not a shy person, but it caused me severe social anxiety. Did not want to go to class. I felt like everyone was staring at me. Everyone knew that I was hearing things. Um, and I struggled. I struggled.
I I can't even imagine how scary that would be.
Mhm.
I mean, it was like a light switch.
It was like a light switch. It came out of nowhere.
Wow.
I will say this. I remember being 7 and having an experience, and I remember telling my parents, and no fault to them. It's a different story now, but back then they were like, "Girl, you didn't see anything." But I knew as a 7-year-old what I saw.
Right.
But it kind of
Wow.
shut it down because they were like, "No, there's nothing there."
Right,
And
right. Which is what all parents do.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
now they're fully there, but
Right,
back then,
right.
So was it like a especially with that first week, is it was just like a an overwhelm, just like your senses were being overwhelmed, and like it, so it was one of those things that, like, you have to figure out how to tone it down and manage that level of sensory input that you're getting at the time.
yeah,
Or like, I mean, as far as like going on and after that initial experience happened, that initial week and whatnot, that you had to, was it one of those things you had to learn how to actually control what your sensory input was becoming? Does that
yes.
make
I
sense?
didn't want it. So when this was happening,
I wouldn't
I
want it either.
Yeah, I didn't want it. It literally felt like a light switch that I just couldn't turn off for a sec. So I actually ended up going to a medium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's where I went to college. Told her nothing about me at all. And she said one of the first things she said was that she sees me in a white doctor's like gown. She's like, "Oh, are you going to school for med?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Okay, well then that's my sign that you're meant to be a healer." And then that's when it all kind of came out. She's like, "You
Oh,
have gifts and abilities and they're opening up." And I said, "I don't want them. I'm going to Florida. I'm trying to live a normal
I'm
life."
going to Florida because they
Um,
don't cross state
yeah,
lines.
I just was like, "I'm about to graduate in 1 month. I'm not interested." And she'd said a prayer. And I told her because my apartment, after I started sensing his brother and everything, I mean, it was so heavy. I didn't even want to be in my apartment. She said some prayers, some things, I don't even know, but I walked out and it seems like everything settled down. And then I graduated, I moved to Florida and thought that, it was going to turn off. It didn't really. Um, we moved into his parents' house right out of college, my ex-boyfriend, for a little bit. And the fan would start moving. I would start seeing impressions of faces. And then I'd
Oh,
say about 2019, it stopped completely for a little bit. I had like a
just
little.
like light switch off.
Yeah, the thing is though, when it stopped, I started experiencing excruciating pain in my body, like back pain. I mean, I had to get like shots, like it came out of nowhere. And I don't know if that's attributed to that, but it was like that stopped and then like the pain was unbearable.
That's interesting. So, it's funny because us coming from the environment that we come from, a lot of you can get really overwhelmed, you know what I mean, with lots of chaos and input and, information overload and all that stuff coming. And, one of the things that we've always trained and worked on is trying to control our environment, control that chaos, right? So we call it, control chaos. You went through the same thing, right? The only difference is you didn't have the the support or the, how should I say, the historical training that has been developed over many years in our industry, right? In the military and in law enforcement and all first responders for that matter, right? You didn't have that. So how did you manage this so quickly? I mean, I don't know that, I mean, I would have probably ended up in a fetal position someplace.
That's a great question. I would say so 2019 it stopped, 2020 it intensified. And that's when I started receiving visions of murders and crimes. And
Okay. Okay.
felt like it was every single night I was having a vision. I have like journals like in my storage unit of I would write everything down. And it was when that happened where I was like, okay, I started connecting the dots in my life. I should mention this in high school, I would go undercover with detectives to
Okay.
science check. So I was drawn to that. In college, I went to school for criminal justice. I was drawn to that. Then I start having visions of murders and crimes. So it was at that point that I was like, okay, let me seek out mentors. So I took a lot of mastermind mentorships with very great mediums in London, Canada, uh,
Wow.
and they helped me understand myself better. And it's to your point where I was able to control it. But I will say, at times, like I don't control visions; they just come. That's something
Right.
that
Right.
I don't have control over. So.
So, how do you explain to people? How, first of all, you moved from Wisconsin, right, to Florida. Okay, so you're obviously your social circles changed, right? A lot of things changed. How do you explain to somebody who just comes into your life, circle of friends, business associates, acquaintances, how do you broach that subject? How do you explain to them? I mean, do you just come right out and tell them, or is it you wait for them to notice something? I mean, what happens with that?
I told no one, no one knew. Even even when I was developing with mentors, my parents didn't even know. I think I came out of the spiritual closet in the end of 2023 going into 2024. So it hasn't been long. But
Oh, okay.
behind the scenes I was doing readings for people anonymously. But my life, my circle, they didn't know. Anyone who didn't know me, I didn't tell. Um,
Right.
but now when people approach me and obviously people know, it's normal. Like it's not like this big thing. It's just that's her. That's Alex.
Hmm.
Interesting. So would you say that it's becoming more accepted? More people are more, I would,
Open.
oh, oh,
More people are more open to it.
okay. Well,
Not, I wouldn't say accepted, but I would say I'd say people's minds is becoming more open
okay. I
to
would agree with that.
the paranormal and
Well, I know.
all of that stuff.
So I will tell you, I think that that is true. I mean, I truly believe that, and but I'm just curious. Do you see it getting better? I mean, I think in this day and age, I mean, people are more, open. Golly, people are more open of, um, you know, different things that we never once understood, right? Things that we dismissed. I mean, as being, that's not true. There's no way to prove this, or that, right? And we've found over what, I would say probably, at least in my career, we've continued to evolve in that area and in all these areas, especially in law enforcement and stuff like that. You just don't know what you don't know, right? So do you think that that's happening? Or do you think it's just one of those things that it's in the moment thing?
I believe that people are becoming more open. But the thing is, I believe we all have this inside of us. I'm going to speak specifically about law enforcement and
Okay.
them being open. Okay. I receive messages on LinkedIn from law enforcement all over the nation where they're wanting to share their own experiences and stories of sensing things or seeing the dead, right? I think it's frowned upon to, I mean, especially in law enforcement, to be open about it and talk about it. But behind closed doors, yes, I believe there are a lot of people who are open. And that's just my experience. I think that one of the misconceptions I see a lot is people think, oh, she's special. But my perspective on that isn't that per se. I think there's some people that think, oh, it takes a special person. No, we all have the abilities. It's just if you are closed off, you're not going to see that in yourself. But the
Right.
moment you allow yourself to have the light switch flip on, you will literally discover a part that's already been in you. It's in all of us. It's just some people, like we all have gifts, right? You, I feel like you guys are great at speaking, great at dialogue, and I'm sure you can think of other things that you're naturally gifted at. We all have gifts. Mine just happens to be I'm really sensitive. So it's just like a scale. That's the way I see it. But yeah, I'd say most people are more open to this, you know?
So when earlier you talked about like training law enforcement and that type of thing. Is that like is that one of those deals where it's kind of teaching them to understand the feelings that they're getting and the senses that they're getting? Like I mean, I like for us it was, hey, if you start getting that hinky feeling or the hair on the back of your neck stands up or whatever, something is not right if that happens. So you need to like slow down, take a look around, read your environment, start looking because something is off.
Right. Don't
And
dismiss
don't
your hinky
dismiss it.
nose.
Don't dismiss that feeling that you're getting because it's a real thing,
Got
you
it.
know.
I actually flew back last night from training my first police department in South Carolina,
Okay.
Hanahan, South Carolina, shout out. Um, and it was incredible. And exactly to what you explained, I mean, the feedback from the people who took the training, like I said, it's like they saw parts and discovered parts of themselves where it's to your point of just like the feeling, the knowing.
Right.
I go and teach over the four main intuitive signals that we all have and how it connects to our instincts. Because our intuition is the signal that triggers the instinct. The instinct is the act. So if law enforcement, if you all are not trusting the signals, you may you might hesitate on instinct. You might not act on instinct. So I discuss all of the clairs: hearing, feeling, seeing, and knowing. Knowing is the gut instinct that you all talk about. It's on the TV shows. It's my gut. I don't know how I knew. That's called claircognizance. But what people fail to realize is we have three others. We have seeing, clairvoyance, hearing, clairaudience, and feeling, which is clairsentience. That's what you just described. And yeah, it's
It's so interesting that you identify those because being longtime law enforcement and instructors and who we teach a lot of officer safety and survival, right? And we talk about, you know, what we call the gut instinct or the hinky bells or your sixth sense or whatever you want to call it, right? But we talk about that is, when in a tactical environment is seeing what's going on, listening, how are you feeling it, right? Because we all, I mean, are you are you afraid? Because if you're afraid, I mean, that your primal fear kicks in on something that's a survival instinct, right? So it's picking something up that says, hey, we need to change what we're doing, or we need to slow down or do some type of action, right? Because now our survival's at risk. And, so it so aligns with what we teach. And
it's
I just
body
love that.
it's body intelligence. It's listen, what you just said about your instincts, your signals will be different than his signals and vice versa. You could have similar. And what I mean by that, we all have them, but your seeing might be stronger than his knowing or vice versa. And the
Usually is.
training, that's what pulls it out is, okay, I'm trying to see which of your signals are the strongest, which can be strengthened, because when those signals hit, when you're under pressure, life or death situations, you're going to act on instinct. You're not going to hesitate. So yes, to your point, exactly.
So when did you have, I mean, you started getting these visions of murder victims and stuff like that, right? Which hats off to you, because I don't know if, I mean, I've never been a runner, but I bet you I would have tested how far I can actually run. You know, because that would just be something that was so outside my wheelhouse, right? I mean, talk about a what the heck moment, right? So when that started happening, what led you to say, hey, okay, so I'm getting these, right? I know what they are because you have to decipher that. Am I correct?
Yeah, you just like when they're so vivid. It's like watching a movie. It's hard to, it's like not even, you don't really even have to decipher it. I mean, obviously, if I don't know who it is,
Right.
um, but it's so clear as to
Okay.
who did it, what did it, the intention. I can feel the intention sometimes of why this person did this. Um, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. So I guess where the question I was going with this is then what sparked you to say, hey, I need to bring this to law enforcement, right? Make them aware, which I think is fabulous, by the way, right? But how did you start that journey? I mean, that's probably scarier than when the light switch came on because you're now putting yourself out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. It honestly, going back to connecting the dots, I look at myself as a child. I remember being asked at 7, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said a detective. I said FBI, a lawyer, and I want to be an actress. Kind of, those are okay.
All four.
All
Awesome.
four,
All
all four.
four.
But I
Oh,
knew, no offense, that I didn't want to go into law enforcement in the traditional route. I knew that at a very young age. I just knew.
why is
Um,
that offensive? That wouldn't be offensive. I didn't want to go
okay.
in it either.
Okay. Well, then great. I'm glad you didn't take offense to that. And then again, high school, I took a forensic science class, and my teacher, he was retired law enforcement. Hey, do you want to go undercover with detectives? That excited me for some reason, and I just followed the pool. Then college. So it's a mix of like that just being something I naturally gravitated towards, knowing,
Okay.
and I was doing public or readings for the public over Zoom. Like I had a business, but I knew I was supposed to go deeper because I was tired of doing like people's love lives and stuff. Like I knew that there was
Right.
a reason why I was drawn to law enforcement. There was a reason why I was having these visions. And then when I did put myself out there, which was scary, that's when people started writing me, and they're like, "Hey, like sheriffs and assistants and chiefs and all these people are like, my great grandma had these." Visions, or my aunt had this gift, and I also sense things, and I've seen a dead boy, and I'm like, okay, so this is happening. Um,
So
and
that
I'll
was
tell
not the reaction you expected.
you, no, not at all. No, not at all. And I will say, I was inspired by a woman named Noreen Rainier. She's older now, probably in her early 90s. She taught at the FBI
Wow.
Academy, and she would teach a version of what I teach. And obviously it was behind the scenes. You're not gonna be like, we have a psychic medium here, right? But
Right, right,
she
right.
also would assist on cases. She was exactly what I do. And I thought, okay, so clearly there is interest, but I think law enforcement and people in your background, I think that you fear what the public thinks. So we can't put
Yeah.
this out there because then people are going to talk shit, excuse my language.
You
But
can cuss on this show. We cuss it
okay,
all
great.
the time.
The reality is, if people did a little detective work, you would find that the CIA has used remote viewing.
Mhm.
Beverly Jagers was a psychic detective who trained police. She also worked with the FBI. Rosemary Kerr was a psychic medium. She was the first psychic to testify in a court of law based off of a vision that she had. The DA
Wow.
brought her on the case. This is all out there.
Really? They actually brought her into open court to do this.
She testified. Yes, I'll send you the article after this
That would
call.
be awesome.
Yeah, and they're convicted. She had a vision. She saw the the people who are responsible, I'll send you the whole article, and they are in jail. This was obviously in the 80s. But my point to all of this is police bring people like me on the cases, and I'm like, but you all can do it yourselves. You can become your own investigative tool, because that's what I view me and whoever else does this work, we're tools. It's not like we solve cases. I'm not the police, you're the police. Police solve cases. I'm just a tool if
Right,
all,
right, right.
but you can do it yourself. And that's what I love teaching. It's like, hey, listen, I'll help you, but I could also help you do it yourself.
So I was kind of busting on Tom earlier during the tomfoolery moment, right? About interview questions and stuff like that. But in all seriousness, um, we've all gone into that interview, that oral board, whatever, and we're just so nervous. I mean, but this is something that we've probably prepared for, right? We're set up. We've got all of our ducks in a row. Well, some of us not so much, but we go to these interviews just nervous, doing the whole, "Ooh," right?
Yeah.
You walk in to meet with an agency to tell them who you are, right? And what you can do. I mean, how do you get the courage to even go through the front door for the very first time?
Yeah. Well, the department that I trained yesterday, um, led by Chief Rick Gebhardt in Hanahan, South Carolina,
Okay.
um,
Shout
they
out to him.
shout out Chief Gebhardt. They were all so welcoming that it was like I wasn't made to feel like, oh my God, she's a witch, like, it wasn't like that, because they wanted the training. They were, open to it. Um, I mean, everyone gets nervous. Like, it's not that I
Yeah.
don't get nervous, but I think the moment that, for me at least,
Right.
I am really passionate about this, and I know that it's inside of everyone. So I get excited to be like, yo, like, I'm excited to like show you. I want to help you turn the light switch on. Okay. So the nerves just kind of go away when I start speaking.
All
So
right.
yeah.
Do you have something to follow up on that with?
Hmm?
Did you have a follow-up question on that?
No, I was just going to say, I would imagine so I'm guessing that agency in South Carolina came to you.
Yeah, well, so I, over the summer, trained quite a few privately on Zoom,
Mm.
Hmm.
and I did it for free. And I was like, I will train you, um, in return for a recommendation on LinkedIn. So that was like the exchange, okay? And then when I trained Chief Gebhardt, I just shot my shot on Zoom, and I said, I will give you the opportunity to be the first department to locally bring the sharpen your instincts training, because it's happened behind the scenes, but locally, to my knowledge, that has not happened yet. And so I framed it in that way, as this is a historic moment, um, and I asked him, I said, did you feel like this training brought value? And he said yes. And I'll tell you one thing about him. When I first trained him, like, never met him on Zoom, first day, I said, when it came down to me asking him, like, what do you feel about your senses? And when it came to seeing, he was like, oh, I can't see anything. I'm not a visual person. 25 minutes into that training, I'm asking him during one of the exercises, how are you sensing it? He goes, I saw it. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But here's the thing. This past week, when I went to South Carolina, he obviously took the training again, and it was crazy, the growth. I mean, he was hearing and he was seeing. And the
Oh,
first
wow.
time I met him, I can't see. I can't. But I think that also speaks to just the mindset of like, don't think you can't do something until you open yourself up to it, because he truly like was so spot on with these exercises from
Right.
like the psychic level. I mean, no one likes to use that word, but we all are psychic. That's the truth.
Right.
And it was so cool to see. It was just awesome,
So he
So
he he was obviously putting up that initial. I mean, I think it's something that a lot of like cops and but they put up that barrier, right? Because that you hit on it earlier is public perception is everything, right? And especially for law enforcement, not so much at the lower levels, obviously. It probably should be a little higher for them, but usually it's not, which is why we end up in the news, right? But for the upper echelon, it is, right? So they probably come into this with this. I mean, and it's not, I don't think it's something that they intentionally do. I think it's a survival instinct where they put that up and you've got to breach that barrier to them, right? They're not going to breach it for you.
Right, yeah, and there were a couple of detectives that had been in the game for a really long time. I mean, it's not hard to tell, there were a
Mhm.
few. Um, but the way that I look at it is like I'm not for everyone. I don't think we are, and I don't
Uh-huh.
think we should try to be for everyone. I know that the people that I am for are going to resonate, and those that are not, and that's cool. Like I never go into, a training thinking like everyone has to love me. I respectfully that I don't care. That's not the point. I'm showing up for the people that really resonate. And there were so many that did. And then there were a couple that just were old school that,
Right.
like, this is cool, this is great, but like, and that's cool, that's fine. It's just a matter of everyone's different and all I can do is be myself. And I think we all can. That's all. We can just be ourselves and that's it. And the people that are meant for us will just naturally gravitate towards us. And that's how I go into the trainings. Okay, so that's really.
So how do you keep yourself grounded when you're dealing with all these intense situations, right? And I gotta imagine, right, that unlike, seeing a book or reading a book, right? These are just flooding in, right? And you could have multiple things happening at the same time with different situations, right? How do you keep yourself grounded doing that? I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to still figure that out, to be honest.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It's, the way that my mind works is I have ADHD and hopefully it's not too bad on this call where like my mind is I could be talking about one thing and then completely switch subjects, not on purpose, but it's just how my mind works. And I was really self-conscious about that. But then I had a mentor tell me, nope, that's just how you're supposed to be. And that's how it is in my readings too. So
okay.
I think that it helps because I could be talking about something like the woman that you were talking about
Uh-huh.
earlier. Um, that was about an overdose, but then it'll quickly shift to something else where I'm not
Got
stuck
it.
on it. So I think my mind helps me in that way.
Have you ever gotten where you start to see so much, right? So much input coming in that the output becomes what I want to say, sort of vague or garbled because you're getting this and you're getting this, and I can tell you I've experienced this in tactical operations, and I know Tom has, where you're getting so much information that you start to put out information that you were getting from over here and was supposed to go over here, but you're giving it over here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah. So specifically with mediumship readings, when I'm connecting to the dead, a person could have multiple loved ones come through, and I'm saying a lot and it makes sense, but it's for multiple different people. And so when
Okay.
that happens, I have to go direct. Like, okay, she's like, yeah, but that's that person, and then that's that person. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, you have people around you. I need to be specific with one person. What I mean by specific is I'm not just going to tell someone that their grandma misses them. I work with evidence too, but it's things that I wouldn't know, but they would know. And that's how they come through. So yes, it's all over the place sometimes when I'm connecting to the dead.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So, you got something? I
Um,
saw your wheels turning.
well, I would say,
Can see them.
so what's one lesson
Fear.
that you've learned,
Boy.
through all of this? You know, good, bad, indifferent, but like what's a big lesson that you went, oh wow, okay. I gotta revamp the way I'm doing something because of this lesson that I just learned.
I would say discernment is just so important. Like, I will not say certain things to someone if I don't think they can handle it. I keep it to
Mm.
myself. Um, I will not do that because words are so powerful. And I'm not going to, if I can sense if someone can handle something, and if they can't, I can tell if something needs to be said to someone, or it's like, nope, they don't need to hear that. Because the last thing I want to do is put even more burdens on someone. And so I think that that's a really big lesson that I've learned is just to like I'll pause because I'll be like, wait, how do I say this? And I think I did it in one of my other that reading you were. I just had to pause because I knew what was coming through, but I needed to make sure that I worded it correctly. So it was taken the right way, just so they're not overthinking. The last thing I want is someone to go home and be like, oh my God, what did she mean by this? I want to be very clear and direct, and I want to make sure that I'm using my words with like integrity and discernment. So that's the biggest lesson for sure.
That makes a lot of sense.
That-
And
That's that's a good life rule, actually.
it is a good life rule.
Just overall. I mean, even more so for you, I would say, because, you know, if somebody's having a reading or whatever, they probably have a tendency to get more emotionally involved than just, you know,
Right.
going, hey, you got a little spinach in your teeth, Rick, like, you know, and you know, like, does he really need to know that at that point? I'd
It's
probably
just
walk
never know
out when
when
he
he's
takes the
actually.
next drink of
I
water
never
or
know when
whatever,
he's hinting on the
you know.
show. He
So
finds a question to kind of hint.
At first, I was like, he has spinach in his teeth.
Oh, see? Oh, you're going to join in too? This is not good. Okay. Well, I'm telling you, if you join the octagon,
no,
baby,
but I feel like
here we go.
that's a pretty big deal to figure that out, you know, that hey, I don't know if I should say this to this person
Well,
because
and we all have
put in
that.
a bad mindset.
Yeah, we
we
all
all
have that issue. You have that issue. I have that issue. We've all had it. So I have
But
this thing that I've not mastered. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, a long, long, long work in progress. But I've now adopted my 10-second rule. And what that is when I hear something, right? 10 seconds, I get to contemplate what I'm going to say. My problem is while I'm waiting that 10 seconds, I'm already saying it.
I was going to say, when did you adopt that?
I've been working on it. I told you it's a work in progress.
Well, you have to start it.
think
No,
we
I
all
have started. It's up here. It's a journey. So, so what I hear up here, and that we had a couple incidents of this lately, but what I take that 10-second rule and I hear it up here, and then when it comes out, holy shit, I will tell you, it is usually not, it doesn't, it's like it did not come out, even after 10 seconds, it came out wrong.
Yeah, I've been there. I think everybody has. I just words are, I mean, words can hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
And
yeah.
I've had to learn that. I'm not I'm not a saint, okay? And so I
Nobody is.
like no one's perfect. And
Mhm.
so I think that's just a lesson that everyone should learn is like just be super careful with what you say because people are fragile and you just don't know what someone's going through.
So how do you navigate that though? I mean, seriously, how do you walk that tightrope, type, I'm not speaking well today, that
Okay.
tightrope, right? How do you walk that and still give them what they need? Because you talk what they need to hear, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes what somebody needs to hear is not, it's not always pleasant, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I consider myself very blunt. I am very direct. So if there's something that I know I can't say it in that way, I will still get my message across, but I am very it's like a puzzle with my words. They're gonna get the message, but I'm not gonna say it how it's coming through.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
does that make sense? Because I
Oh
know
yeah.
that it's coming through for a reason. I'll give you an example. I can't remember if I put this in that part. I think I did. Oh yeah, there was a part. Okay, I did. In that last video on my LinkedIn, I'm seeing her son's. There was something coming out of his
I
mouth,
remember that. Yes, I remember
and
that part.
I knew that I needed to say that to her for some reason. I knew it, but I needed to be careful how I said it, and so I took a moment and I paused, and she's like, yeah, like that was the one thing that she said. Okay, when you said that, I knew all of this was real because no one knew that. Like nobody knew that that's what I had been questioning was what was wrong with my son's mouth. And I will say one thing. This actually, I don't think I posted this part. It's part of the video, but her son was making me feel like she had constant suicidal thoughts. And I had to think about how I was going to bring that up to her because I didn't want to trigger her and I didn't want her to feel
Right.
judged. I didn't want her to think that I was judging her. And I said, look, um, the way that it was coming across is when her son was alive, they would debate about is heaven real? Is it fake? Is heaven real? Son didn't think it was real. Mom was like, heaven's real. So
Right.
his son was like, her son, I'm sorry, her son was like, okay, mom, you were right. You got me. Heaven's real, but don't try to get here too soon. And then I had to pause because then he was making me feel like she wants to kill herself.
Right. So
Mm.
that's a
Um,
slippery slope, right?
right, right. And so I had to think like, how am I gonna word that? And then that's when I said, try like don't try to get to heaven too soon. And I was like, he's making me feel like you have thoughts that, what's the point of being here? Starts crying. She's like, yeah, I do. And then the message came through from her son. So it's just things like that where I'm going to still say it. I'm not going to not say it, but I'm going to be very careful with how I say it because I don't want her to feel judged and I want her to get the message that she needs. So, and I think that it was well received for sure.
It's interesting because I watched that interview, right? And when you were in that segment of it, that portion of the interview, one of the things that jumped out to me, aside from when you started talking about that, the mouth area, right? What I didn't, see, I mean, I think I did see it, obviously. There was this aha moment on her side. But what I saw from her, the reaction that I saw in her face was validation.
And that's, I mean, from a medium standpoint, validation is important because that's how I know that I'm connecting and giving them the specific details that I wouldn't know. And that was what she needed because I literally said, I see something coming out of her mouth. And if you watch that video very carefully, she said there was a stream coming
Yes.
down his mouth. And like, nobody wants to replay their son and finding an OD, but I knew I needed to say that because that was what's gonna that I would say, and there was a lot of specifics, like so much stuff that came that was like your son's here, but I think it was that moment, that graphic detail that like made her know in her heart of hearts, okay, my son, this is really him. And so but obviously I had to be careful with how I said it.
Right. So I do have a question for you. In your opinion, now I know that really in the infancy, right, of your what we'll call journey here. Okay. I'm really getting into this touchy feely, this journey stuff. But um so but we're gonna call it that, right? But you're in the infancy. But what would you say is the biggest myth about psychics and mediums, right? uh, that surrounding your abilities that you wish people would just stop believing, and how do you fix that?
Yeah, that's a great question. That we can read minds. I think that's number one. I think that people think that if I'm in front of them, I know exactly what Tom and Rick are thinking. Oh,
Nobody knows what we're thinking, even
nobody
us.
knows. Nobody.
Even us.
I can't read minds, but I will say this. It will feel like I'm reading your mind. Like I did a reading 2 weeks ago of a woman. She literally said, I feel like you're in my head. I feel like you're reading my mind. It's not me. It's I'm connecting to her loved one and her dad, it was her dad. He was making me feel her thoughts. So I'm literally able to say, you're feeling like this, you're feeling like this, and like, so it feels like it, but I'm not reading, I'm
Got
connecting.
it.
That's
Okay.
one misconception. I would say working with law enforcement, there's a misconception that I definitely think. Um, I think that a lot of law enforcement think that if they work with a psychic or medium on a case, that okay, this is the case, figure it out. You need to have all the answers. This is what's really important. This is a huge misconception. For most, I can't speak for all, I'm speak for myself and most. We I'm gonna say okay. I sense in detail. I'm a very detailed person. So I will be very specific, but I need an angle to enter. And I understand from your perspective, playing devil's advocate, I'm not in law enforcement. You can't tell me everything. But a brief overview, it's almost just like if someone were to come to me for like psychic reading and ask a specific question. If you ask me the question, I am now focused and I'm tuned in. Same thing with a case. Give me an overview and then I dial in and can tune in. I think the misconception there is that, okay, tell me everything. And I think that comes from, let's see if this is real or not, or like, let's test.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're probably right on that.
But it needs to be a collaboration in the sense of like, does that make sense? It's like I
It
can work,
does.
I have an angle to go in, then I can tune in and I'll bring the details. But if it's like this thing where I feel like I need to prove myself, I'm not working with you.
Right.
Find someone else. Sorry, because I don't feel like I have to prove myself. And I think a lot of law enforcement, which is fine, I'm sure that it's like a lot of like, let's see, like like I get it, I get that, but it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help your case. It doesn't help the psychic or medium because
Right.
they will feel if you are. And listen, everyone's skeptic. That's fine. You can be as skeptic as you want. All you have to do is just be open. That's it. As
Right.
long as you're open, that's fine. I don't care if you believe it, but just be open and don't go into it thinking that we're trying to prove ourselves. Just it's a collaboration in that sense. Um, so hopefully that answered it.
Well,
At
it
this,
does, and it's interesting. So having been a detective, right, and having worked homicides and stuff, but one of the things that I find just super compelling about this, and so I've got two questions for you that I'm going to lead into, okay, is when you work a case, okay, and you bring in your resources, detectives, maybe a representative from the district attorney, CSIs. I mean, in most cases, the exact sciences are a very small part of that case, and they usually come towards the end, right? And they're basically a corroboration tool. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely.
They corroborate where you went, and then where you went corroborates the evidence. Okay. So when you bring in those resources, though, I think some of the bigger pitfalls that detectives that I've seen do is they go in with that preconceived notion, right? And they tell you, well, I can't give you the details. You're not going to give me, if you can't prove yourself, you're not worthy, right? Well, when I go to a detective and I say, so here's case A, okay? And these are the facts that we know at this time, as they are. We're working to corroborate them, okay? This is the two hypotheses, minimum, right? That we have based on this evidence. Okay. I present it to that detective and we say, what do you think? Now I got to tell you, they're not getting details that we don't know. They're only getting the details we prove, but they still give you an opinion. And it's really funny as we put a lot of weight in that opinion,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, series. Yeah,
and we
yeah,
start to go down that road. And so, a lot of times you're probably right, but a lot of times you're wrong, right? So my question to you is do you teach officers about this? Because, I mean, how do we get them to see this as whether you're a homicide detective, a property crimes detective, a domestic violence detective, or a psychic detective, right? The key thing there is detective. You're taking information, you're providing that information into the case, right? Trying to build evidence. But how do you build evidence? Through corroboration. It's
yeah,
not skepticism, it's good investigation.
yeah. Um, Intuition is not evidence. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and say intuition is evidence, but
Understood.
our intuitive signals, the hearing, the feeling, the seeing, the knowing, can lead to evidence. And so and yes, this can be taught. That's the thing. Like, even more so, we all have intuitive databases, and our intuitive databases are based off of our lived experiences. So you all have been in law enforcement. I don't know how many years. I'm not going to say. I don't know, but that's your life. That's part of your life, and so your database is very law enforcement, right? When you're working on cases, to your point, um, you'll have information just like pop up. Um, which signal, I don't know, whichever is your strongest, or
Right.
maybe you're strong in all of them. And this can be taught to be strengthened. So you don't even have to ask a psychic detective because you already have the lived experience of being an actual detective. All that you need to do is strengthen the intuition for sharper instincts so you can use yourself as a tool. Because how many detectives have cases where families are waiting for answers, and maybe there's
Yeah.
detectives to do the work, and then they think you're not doing anything, but that's not the case. The families think
Right,
you're not
right,
doing.
right, right.
So if you have zero leads, you don't want to work with a psychic detective, that's fine. It's not for everyone. Use yourself. Learn how to use yourself because you already have the law enforcement. Now we need to train what I call intelligence. I call this work what I train and teach as intelligence, body intelligence. It's essentially training your sensitivities to
Right.
pull specifics and details like I do because you could get a name You could get, one of my examples, I'll say this. Let's say that you're working a case, okay, and you're reviewing a case file. And in this case file, you are reviewing photos that have to do with the crime, and it's a wooded area. So you're looking at wooded area photos, and as you're looking at it, you have a flash image of a red backpack that just pops in your mind. Or maybe you have a feeling of a red, it's something, however it comes to
Ah,
you. You either feel it, you hear it, you know it, you see it, okay? And so you tell your team, hey, we should go back to this wooden area. I just,
right, right, right.
let's go look for a red backpack. And you happen to find a red backpack. Okay? What's in the red backpack? Evidence. So I know that was just like an example, but this is how the information comes through for me and most psychic detectives. And my point is you can learn this yourself. You all law enforcement can learn how to tap into this. So when all leads are exhausted, tap into your sixth sense and see how much information you can pull. And the same can be said with photos, right? If I look at, I can read photos very well. I look at a victim or a suspect, you all can learn how to do that too. And you can profile based off of looking at photos. All I need is I need to see the eyes. The photo can tell you a lot. And this is something that I'll leave it with this too. Back in like 2019, prior to any of this, prior to, yes, I knew I had the ability. It was kind of like, okay, like I'm having these experiences. I didn't have mentors or anything. I was drawn to this Facebook group. It was like a psychic mediumship group. I was drawn to it. People would post photos every day of loved
Sorry.
ones. No, it's okay. People would post photos of their loved ones, alive or dead. And what you had to do is you had to read the photo and give every single detail you could about this person, and then that person would tell you feedback. And that's what I would do over and over and over and over again. And I was extremely accurate at that. And if I can learn to do that just from doing it, you all can learn how to do that to help you with your cases.
I have something in my throat. I apologize.
It's okay. Are you good? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm
Okay. Same with
silently gonna drop dead as soon as you walk away because
oh, don't please don't.
I, I don't know if I inhaled coffee or what, but now I'm dying here.
So is there a network that you work with? Is there, or is it like, like how does an agency or someone that might be in need of your abilities reach out and find you and locate you, or someone with similar abilities that you have?
So lately it's just been on LinkedIn. I'm in the process of creating a website specifically for the training and consulting. But yeah, you can just message me. It doesn't need to be this like formal thing, or they can email me. But usually people will just message me on LinkedIn.
Okay. So if you had advice to give, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Someone just discovering their abilities or talents, what would you say?
I would first, I would say to believe in yourself and know you're not crazy. Go towards the pull. If you're feeling pulled, you're being pulled for a reason. And I would seek out mentors, but, and there's a big but with that, make sure use your discernment on who you're working with because um, not everyone has your best interest, but it is good to work with a mentor so you can strengthen, what's coming out. That's what I would say.
So how do you, what would you like to say to officers out there? What would you say to them right now?
I would say that you all are extremely, extremely intuitive. And if you have this feeling, knowing inside of you where anything about what you heard on today's interview resonates with you, there's a reason why. And if you are wanting to develop your intuitive signals for sharper instincts on the job, but just in general life, right? Because what we train in one thing will naturally carry over. It's like going to the gym and becoming super disciplined. It'll likely happen in your life. Um, I'm one message away, and you can reach out. And this will certainly, like I said, it's like a light switch. It's the easiest way to describe it. It's, once you turn it on, it's like, damn, I don't really want to turn it off. Like I can do this. Like that's how it was with the training this week, and it was just so cool to see people like light up when they would like sense it, and I'd be like, "How'd you sense it?" And they'd be like, "I heard it," and I'm like, "Good job. How'd you sense it?" "I saw it," and I have them compare. So I'm like going into it. What do you think your strongest sense is? And then after,
Oh,
was it the same, or did you find that you had another one and they find that they had another one? Or, maybe it was for some it stayed, but then there's others where it's like one or two that just shine. So yeah, reach
Nice.
out,
what would you think your strongest sense is?
hearing,
I don't
feeling,
know.
seeing, or
Yeah, I
knowing.
mean, just in general. I mean,
Uh,
thinking about what we've been talking about, what would you think yours is?
I'd probably say feeling.
Okay. Why?
Like,
Why?
uh,
Just why?
just
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 generally.
because, like, I mean, I've been in enough situations where you get that just something is, excuse my language, something is fucking wrong right now. Like, you need to start looking around a little bit more, dude. Like,
Yeah.
pay attention to your surroundings, like right now. And it's one of those things where it's worked out because you know I changed my perception of the environment, whether it's by moving to a different location or something like that. And so then once I changed my view
Uh-huh.
of what I'm seeing, then there's a freaking bad guy with a gun
So
or
again, so is
whatever.
that feelings or is that seeing?
I
That So I'm going to ask you this. I believe it's feeling, but do you feel something in your body? Like, do you get a tension? Do you get unease? Do you get chills? Or
yes.
is it subtle? Is it subtle, or do you actually have a response in your body?
I would say it's been both. It's been both where it's been subtle because I felt like it wasn't immediate at the time, but then there's been like an immediate physical reaction, like that. Like it's like I can feel it in my chest that something is bad,
Okay.
So
and
yeah, sorry,
you
I
know,
didn't. I didn't
No,
cut you off.
no, that
and
I was
so
just, yeah, that I fully get that. Go ahead.
What you just described is exactly what the training is. Because everyone has it differently. You said that, but for Rick, sorry,
Yeah,
I like my your name is
it's a hard name.
Rick.
yeah, you're good.
I hold no ill will.
For Rick, it could have been different. You could get chills. Tom gets the feeling in the chest, right? But everyone's gonna be different, and so that's what we have to that's what we have to figure out. I would say that's feeling. That's called clairsentience. What would you say yours is?
So that it's interesting. So do me a favor, because I was trying to think. I just want to make sure I have them right in my head. Give me the four
Yeah.
again.
Do you want the fancy version of the word or the simple?
Simple.
Hearing,
Simple.
Trust me,
feeling.
simple.
Okay, hearing, feeling, seeing, and knowing.
Okay. So obviously knowing is not because um we often don't know anything, right? We know very limited stuff most of the time and we make assumptions. I know that sounds bad, but we make assumptions sometimes based on that. Mine would be, I would think I think I'm kind of a cross. I think mine would be more of a feeling and a here well in my mind's eye, so probably seeing, and I'll tell you why. Because here's what happens with me, and it's happened, and you can actually attest to this, okay? Because I've done this before, is we're on something, and I get this feeling, right? As you, it's an emotional feeling, probably. I mean, I feel it in my body, but it's a sense of, holy cow, we need to stop. We need to slow down, right? And I do that, right?
Mhm.
But in my mind's eye, it's not so much I see the threat. I don't see the threat. In my mind's eye, it's weird, is I see everything else, right? I see everything on the exterior other than the threat, things that are going to impact us, right? Things that most people aren't considering. And I can literally visualize, it's almost like a whiteboard.
Yes, yes, that's clairvoyance. That is literally clairvoyance, what you just described. And I would even take it a step to say that if you are sensing, it, correct me if I'm wrong, are you saying that you're sensing the outcome of what could happen? Or am I getting that?
No, no, no. I'm sensing what could happen. I'm not sensing the outcome. I'm
Well,
sensing
the
the
possibility,
peripheral
the
dangers.
possibility of what could
Yeah.
happen.
And
Okay, so
it'll literally stop me in my tracks. We'll have a plan and he'll be executing a plan, right? Um, well, we all know that no plan survives first contact.
Well, no plan survives my contact.
No plan survives anything with you. But anyway, but and I also get a sixth sense on that. I really do, because I always know when he's violating our what we were going to do, and he's already doing something different. But I see this. It'll literally stop me in my tracks, and I mean, back then I would get him on comms and be like, "Hey, where are you? Stop right there. Check this. Let's do this. Right? Change that plan. Let's do this."
And let me ask you, so when you did do that, was it because of what you were seeing or sensing?
It was because of what I was seeing and sensing. It was a combination of both. Because when I see it, I'll a lot of times that comes from training, right? So I see this and I see something and I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, so it's sort of the ABCs of tactics, right? Or decision making.
So your intuitive database, again, based off of your lived experiences, triggered your signal to know what you saw. And then that's when you, to the example that you had, hold on, stop, right? Had you not trusted that signal and you ignored it, then you wouldn't have acted on instinct to alert him to stop. Does that make sense?
No, it makes absolute sense. I always thought it was more of a what did you, and we've talked about this. It's more of a sometimes I'm not, it's not paralysis because you don't, I never failed to make a decision. I would just sometimes reevaluate and change that decision.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I
I,
always wondered, was I over, was I being overly cautious?
I, I would say sometimes it's what you don't see,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily what you see in your mind's eye, but it's what you don't see, but what you feel at the same time. Like I think there can be a complete conflict in those two things, right? You walk into a room and you observe the room and you don't see anything, but then your body tells you there's a freaking threat in here. You need to do something different. Like you need to move,
right.
you need to
Right.
do whatever, right? And I think that's where, that might be like a conflict issue, like where it's because I don't, for me, it's not what I see, it's what I don't see
Well,
that
that's
triggers
exactly right
the,
with me
oh,
though.
holy crap,
I
there's something.
see these things in my peripheral, right? And these aren't what's going to happen. These are likely or very high probability things that we probably didn't consider, right? So I don't focus on what you're looking at. So we're clearing, let's say we're clearing a structure, right? And we've got an area a suspect that we're looking at. We have a description, we have all this other stuff, right? And we're going for that person. And in my mind's eye, what I see is, wait a second, right? We're bypassing threat areas, right? There's a big closet that I didn't actually look at, but I noticed it, right? And now it's popping up in my head, right? That we either bypassed or we dismissed for whatever reason, kind of like a couch or a
Mhm.
bathtub, right? That you think you think you can see what's going on there, but you really don't. So I see these, and then I get this, and it's weird for me because what the feeling I get isn't like, hey, I got this feeling and I got to go with that. What I actually get is it's not panic, it's extreme concern. And what ends up happening, it becomes an overly sensitive concern for my guys. Does that make sense?
Understand. I will say this. What you described, I want to it's there's a very close parallel. Like honestly, it's probably I'm just gonna say what it is. To me, what you described is a sense of psychic ability. And I'm gonna explain to you why. When I do a psychic reading for someone, it's very important that people understand, this is another misconception, that we all have free will. So even if I can tap into the possibilities of what's likely to happen off of what I'm sensing, but you can do something completely different that changes the trajectory of your life, then changes those possibilities. So what you described is you're seeing all these possible uh,
Segways.
segues, right? They're very like they could happen. They could happen. That very much could happen, but it depends on what you do, what your guys do. So if you did one thing, guess what's going to come true? That, right? But we have free will. So you could see one thing and then go a different way, and then something else happens. So when I'm doing, like, for example, psychic reading, and I'll give you an example. Last year, I did a reading for a girl, and I said, "You and your partner are going to break up. There's another guy that's going to come in. He's going to have a truck. He's going to have a beard. He's going to be really big, and he's going to open doors for you." So she's like, "There's no way. I'm not going to, me and my boyfriend aren't going to break up." I'm like, "Okay, it's just what I'm seeing." A year later, she texts me and she goes, "We broke up. My new guy has a truck. He has a beard. He opens doors." She could have stayed in that relationship. That wouldn't have happened. She wouldn't have met new guy. She would have stayed with old guy. But because she, I'm just gonna say, found her worth, broke up with him, this guy came in. It's the same thing.
Right.
Hopefully I'm getting this correctly.
You,
What you described was psychic. That was psychic. I know some of you are gonna watch this and be like, "Oh my God, she's psychic." But that's what it is. We all have psychic ability, and that is what you just described.
yeah.
To a
Sounds like it's very similar to the butterfly effect.
Yeah, well, yeah, actually,
You know?
that's true. Because you step on one butterfly, there's a ripple effect through,
It's
you
funny
know.
that you say that because that came up in the training this week. We were talking about butterfly effect. So
That's really cool. So no, I don't think people watching this are going to go, "Oh my gosh, she's." No, I think that everybody does do that. We call it, and I think this is what I like about the message that you're getting out there. We call it something different, but it doesn't mean it's different, right? We call it intuition. We call it experience. We call it
yeah,
gut
yeah,
instinct,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I don't like you guys. It's like when people say God or universe or higher power. It means the same thing, but different people call it different things.
Right.
Yeah. But we are literally all psychic. We are all psychic. That's just the truth. We are. We are. We are. Call it intuition, call it whatever you want, but we all have it. And I'm just
But
trying to wake everyone up that works in law enforcement, be like, you
I
guys,
love that. Where do you go from here?
no,
Where are you going? What's in the plan for Alejandra?
I get asked this a lot and I do not go into detail. I'm
You don't
very,
need you to go into detail.
I don't
I'm
go
just
into
looking
detail.
at, do you keep moving forward here?
I
I would say I'm super passionate about teaching, the signals. I think that right now is what my focus is on.
Cool.
And training, sharpening your instincts, that's really what I'm focused on right now. And there's just so many things to do, but what's in front of me is this, and this is, I always tell people, I'm like, go towards your highest excitement, whatever's exciting you, and don't be afraid to pivot. If you're over it, if something's just like, no, it's not feeling right, it's
Mhm.
okay. You're not a failure. It just means that, um, people that like have a lot of jobs and then they're like, "Oh my God, they're so job hoppy," and it's like looked down
Mhm.
upon. I don't really agree with that. And I actually had this conversation over the week with in South Carolina. I don't agree with that because what people don't realize is you're building a bunch of skills. You're building a bunch of skills everywhere you go to lead you to the next thing, if that makes sense. And that's kind of how I've always done life. And everything that I'm able to do with the training and doing readings is based off of a lot of stuff that I've done in the past, going to college for criminal justice,
Right.
so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep working on this training and keep training law enforcement. And it's
I'm
just
excited about that.
I think we'd love, both of us would, to get back together with you in say like 3 to 6 months and just talk about some of your success stories and stuff like that, especially when it comes to working with law enforcement agencies and even with folks that you've trained, not necessarily deep diving
Details, yeah.
into the details and stuff, but at least talking about some of those success stories, and spend like a significant amount of time just discussing, those successes and the successes that people you've trained have had as
yeah,
well. I think that would
That would
be
be
that'd be
awesome.
awesome. Or even for that matter, having, if there are some folks out there that you've trained that have successes that would want to come on
yeah,
and talk about those successes, I think it would be awesome. And to get, to, like I said, to open people's minds more about the possibilities of these things, because, the reality is like, I mean, what do they say? We use less than 10% of our brain power,
Yeah.
something like that. So,
Some of us less, but
I
yeah,
mean, you look at like some of the different things, like, like what is it, the savant theory,
I don't know what that is.
do you know what I'm talking about? It's like the spontaneous savant theory or something like that. I can't remember the exact name, where people suffer like a traumatic brain injury or something like that, and then all of a sudden their mental abilities go through the roof. They're able to learn
Oh,
languages extremely fast. They're able to all of a sudden play Mozart and Beethoven, and they've never picked up an instrument in the past,
oh, okay.
and things of that nature, where it's just
Oh,
triggered.
it's almost like you guys were with me in South Carolina because everything you're talking about, I literally had this conversation with someone. Like, I didn't know that's what it was called,
I
but
didn't either.
they were sharing a story. This person got in a car accident, and then all of these things happen.
Mhm.
And there's this. I just feel the need to say this. Have you guys? I think I mentioned this on that last Zoom call, Surviving Death, the
Uh-huh.
show. One of you watched it, Surviving Death on
Mm-mm.
Netflix.
I
Yeah,
don't think
we
I've seen
both.
that.
Oh, I know I did. I thought
I
we
don't think
both
I've
did,
seen
but I did.
Okay, so yeah, the first episode, I think a doctor has like a near death experience, like someone, I don't know, I don't remember, it's been a while, but like I think she came back with like psychic abilities or someone
Mhm.
in there hit their head or something and then like so psychic.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Well, and they were talking about how yeah, so they talk about things that they provide knowledge that they didn't have
Mhm.
before they came,
yeah,
before that
yeah,
happened. And they also provide details they couldn't have known
Yeah.
of things that are going on around them that they just absolutely could not know. And it's not like so and so was there or so, because you can make assumptions at that point, right? Hey, I assume so and so was here, or I assume this type of person or this specialty was there. No, these are details that even the people who were there probably didn't know until they went back and went, "Oh, wow." You know what I mean? So I like that.
And there's generally a trigger to it. There's
Yeah.
whether that's, hitting your head or something else. So it may just be, like those people that have a higher level of psychic ability than the rest of us had some sort of trigger event in their life that caused that difference in their brain
Their
and their
cognitive
and their
level.
and, and their cognitive level to start working at a higher level than the rest of us. I mean, I don't
Well,
know. I might need to get
it's like it's kind of like it's like banging your computer, right? It runs slow, and then when you bang it, it runs fast. Is
I don't
that
know
the
if that.
same thing?
No,
Okay.
that's not at all the same thing.
I apologize if do you guys have something beeping?
What's that?
Do you hear beeping? Because this stopwatch just randomly started going off for no
I
reason.
don't hear
Mm-mm.
beeping.
Okay, great. Then if it doesn't
Actually,
bother,
hold on.
I don't hear any beeping.
Nope, I don't hear
Yeah.
it.
okay.
I was
It's
just like, oh,
it just
It's
stopped.
probably your stopwatch telling you that you've had
yeah.
enough time with these
No, no, no.
ding
I
dongs.
All right, we can take a hint. We've
no, no,
all
no, 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 you guys. I'm enjoying this. I really am. It's not that that stopwatch is used for the training and it would not shut off. It just never shuts off.
interesting.
All of a sudden it just starts beeping. So I'm just like, okay, well then. But no,
Well,
this is cool. This is
so would you be willing to do that with us? Come back
yeah,
on and we kind of do in general, and we'll talk
That'd
before,
be
but
super cool.
that would be just really, really cool because I'd love to see the progress that you've made. And I'd love to see the progress in law enforcement because I'm actually hoping that we are opening our minds to better things. This is the way we've always done it. We all
yeah,
know it
Isn't the
just
way to do it.
never works.
Isn't the
yeah.
way
Right?
to do it.
It's just not the way we do it. So I would love to do that. I'm going to also throw out, okay, a couple of things here. So I would love for you to tell us um, the next time you've got a show coming on, okay, one of your videos, because
Oh,
I would love to watch it. Okay, so shoot us an email. Let us know that you're
Mhm.
you're doing this because I would love to do that. And the other thing I would tell people, and I can't say this enough, reach out to you, not just if you want to serve. I mean, click on, follow, connect with you on LinkedIn. I mean,
I
and
don't bet.
and then repost a lot of these things. I'm asking people, do this. Let's expand our mind a little bit. Have a little, you know, open-mindedness and let's expand. So um
And by all means, if an agency in Colorado reaches out to you to do some training,
let
please let us know because somehow or another we will work our way into that training.
I
Would love to
will.
come to
That
Colorado.
would be
I love
awesome.
Colorado.
Be awesome.
Well, don't ever say never. Just say when, right? But we will. I mean, I'm happy to get your name out there and do this stuff. This is great. I love this stuff. I think people are gonna. I think people are ready. I do. I think
Mm.
people are ready. I think cops are ready. I think the public is ready. I even think that to some degree, leadership is ready.
I I will say I was so surprised at how open I'm going to speak about Chief Gebhardt because that's who I trained, did the training with. He was very open and he had made a comment how he learned something similar. I believe it was like an FBI training. It wasn't exactly this, but it was like the guy could just figure it out. And so again, it's similar to what you said, Rick, where it's like it's the same stuff. It's just not. We're not going
Right.
to call it.
Mhm.
Exactly. I love that.
So yeah, but
Yeah.
thank you guys.
Well, guys, Alejandra Taborn,
Taborn,
T-A-B,
Taborn,
Taborn,
Taborn.
Taborn.
Taborn, not Taborn, Taborn. You know, I'm gonna go with what you said because you know I don't,
And
right?
it's her name.
It's her name. So, but she did forget mine, so I think only.
No, I didn't forget it, but I just this is what happened. I was like, okay, is Rick on this side or is Tom on this side? I knew your names, but I was like, if I call you Tom and you're Rick, like that's so. But that's how my mind works. It gets scrambled. I'm like also that's dyslexic too. So,
Eh,
yeah,
Well, I love it. So that's Taborn, right?
yes,
So go on, follow her, connect with her. I'm sure, and unless you're an absolute dirtbag, she's not going to shun you. But if you are, you should be shunned. So just saying. Does that 10-second rule I forgot?
yeah.
Yeah. See, in my head it sounded so good.
no,
It's
you're
ten,
good. You're
10
good.
seconds.
So
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your podcast. And
no,
I
thank
just,
you for coming on.
yeah, you guys are great. Keep going. I feel like you need to have your own radio show, like a.
She's telling
That'd be
you,
cool
she's
too.
telling you you have a face for radio.
I already know.
No, I think it would be cool. You guys have really
I
like
got you, sister. I know what you were saying.
you have good personalities to be, you know, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Well, I'm looking forward to our next meeting, and hopefully we have conversations offline,
Yeah.
not just in podcasts.
For
'Cause
sure.
I would love that. I mean, we're always up for making new friends and and having conversations, and we learn something from everybody we bring on, and hopefully somebody learns something from us. And if they don't, well, then they weren't listening, right?
That's true.
So thank you so much. We are going to wrap up our show, guys. Hey, we want to thank Danny Me over at ADB for introducing us and bringing us together. This is great.
You.
And there was also Michelle Hoover, right?
Oh, she's such a sweetheart. She's so.
Yeah.
It was
Michelle.
really. I met Michelle, and she's awesome. She's great.
Yeah, so we want to thank them. She is great, and we love these new friendships and stuff like that. So hey, tune in for our next show. I don't know who it's going to be, but I will tell you it's always going to be interesting.
Yes, it will.
Thanks for joining us.
Later.